Iceland, land of fire and ice, a place of breathtaking beauty and serene landscapes, a nation known for its peace, its low crime rates, its sense of community, a place where the harmony of nature is mirrored in the lives of its people. But on January 14, 2017, this peaceful facade was shattered. The disappearance of 20-year-old Birna Brjánsdóttir sent shockwaves through the nation, exposing a darkness that lurked beneath the surface. Her face, once full of life, now stared back from missing posters, a haunting reminder of the fragility of their perceived safety. Iceland, a country where people rarely locked their doors, was forced to confront a chilling reality. The trust that had been the bedrock of their society was now in question. Evil could touch even their shores. The serene landscapes and tranquil villages were no longer just symbols of beauty, but also of vulnerability. Icelanders prided themselves on their safety. They believed in the strength of their community, in the idea that they were different, somehow insulated from the world's darker elements. They lived with a sense of security almost unheard of in other parts of the world. Children played unsupervised. Doors were left unlocked. It was a way of life that seemed almost utopian. Violent crime was a rarity, a distant whisper in a peaceful society. The occasional theft or minor offense was the extent of their worries. The case of Birna Brjánsdóttir was about to change everything. It was a stark wake-up call, a reminder that no place is immune to the shadows that can creep in. Birna's disappearance was not just a crime, it was a betrayal, a violation of the trust that held Icelandic society together. The community, once so tightly knit, now found itself grappling with fear and suspicion, a violation of the trust that held Icelandic society together. The sense of unity that had been their strength was now tested as they came together in vigils and gatherings, seeking solace in each other's company. It was a stark reminder that even in the most idyllic of places, darkness can lurk. The forests and alleyways, once seen as mere parts of their beautiful landscape, now held an ominous presence. The news spread like wildfire. Media outlets covered every detail, every development, as the nation held its breath. From the bustling streets of Reykjavik to the remote fishing villages scattered along the coast, a collective gasp of horror and disbelief swept across the nation. The sense of invulnerability was shattered. Iceland, a country accustomed to feeling safe, was suddenly gripped by fear and uncertainty. The disappearance of Birna Brjánsdóttir was a turning point, a moment that would forever alter the nation's perception of its own security. The police launched an extensive investigation, and search parties combed through the rugged terrain, hoping to find any trace of Birna. The community's response was overwhelming, with volunteers pouring in to aid in the search. Even the Coast Guard was mobilized, with boats scouring the icy waters for any sign of the missing woman. The entire nation was united in their hope and desperation. Families held their loved ones a little tighter, and neighbors offered comfort and support. The tragedy had brought them closer, even as it exposed the cracks in their sense of security. When a suspect was finally apprehended, the nation watched closely as the wheels of justice began to turn. The trial was a focal point, a moment of reckoning for a society that had long believed itself to be safe from such horrors. In the end, Iceland would emerge from this dark chapter with a renewed understanding of its vulnerabilities. The illusion of absolute security was gone, but in its place was a stronger, more resilient community, ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. The night of January 13, 2017, began like any other in Reykjavik. The air was crisp, the streets alive with the chatter of weekend revelers. Birna Brjánsdóttir, a bright and bubbly 20-year-old, was out with friends, enjoying the city's vibrant nightlife. Around 5 a.m., Birna left her friends, heading towards her home in the suburb of Arber. She was alone. Her walk should have taken about 45 minutes. She never made it home. As the hours turned into a day, worry turned to panic. Birna's family and friends desperately tried to reach her, their calls going unanswered. Her disappearance was completely out of character. Something was terribly wrong. The police were notified. A missing persons report was filed. The search for Birna Brjánsdóttir had begun. Little did they know it would become the largest criminal investigation in Iceland's history. News of Birna's disappearance spread rapidly, sending shockwaves through the tight-knit community. Iceland, a nation of just over 300,000 people, responded with an outpouring of support. The sense of unity was palpable as people from all walks of life came together, driven by a shared sense of urgency and compassion. Thousands of volunteers joined the search parties, their faces a mix of determination and concern. The community spirit was strong, and everyone was ready to do their part. They combed through the city streets, scoured the rugged coastline, and braved the icy wilderness, desperate to find any trace of the missing woman. Days turned into nights, and the search continued tirelessly. Hope began to dwindle as the hours stretched into days. The relentless Icelandic winter, with its unforgiving cold and limited daylight, hampered the search efforts. Snowstorms and freezing temperatures made the already difficult task even more challenging. Still, the Icelandic people refused to give up. Their resolve was unwavering, and they pressed on despite the harsh conditions, driven by a collective hope and determination. They clung to the hope that Birna would be found safe. Emotional family members and friends held on to every shred of hope, while volunteers continued to place missing posters around the city. Fishermen, their faces etched with worry, scanned the waves, knowing that the frigid waters held a grim possibility. The sea, both a source of livelihood and a potential threat, was searched meticulously. Hikers, their breath forming clouds in the freezing air, searched the desolate landscapes, their determination fueled by a shared sense of responsibility and a deep-seated fear. The rugged terrain and harsh weather conditions did little to deter their efforts. The disappearance of Birna Brjánsdóttir had become a national obsession, uniting the nation in grief and determination. Candlelight vigils were held, and national flags were flown at half-mast as a sign of solidarity and mourning. The entire country was gripped by the hope of finding Birna and the despair of the unknown. Community members shared stories and memories of Birna, lighting candles and holding moments of silence. The collective grief was a testament to the impact she had on those around her and the unwavering hope that she would be found. Volunteers prepared food and offered support to the search parties, while children drew pictures of hope and resilience. The entire nation, from the youngest to the oldest, was involved in the search, each contributing in their own way. As the search efforts continued, there was a glimmer of hope in the eyes of the people. The unity and determination of the Icelandic community shone through, a beacon of hope in the face of despair. Section 4. The Red Kia Rio, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. As the investigation continued, police discovered a crucial clue. CCTV footage captured Birna walking alone in downtown Reykjavik in the early hours of January 14th. The footage showed her moving with a sense of purpose, yet there was an air of vulnerability about her. The streets were eerily quiet, and the dim streetlights cast long shadows, adding to the sense of foreboding. Shortly after, a red Kia Rio was seen driving slowly behind her. The car's presence was almost ghostly, its headlights cutting through the darkness as it followed her at a distance. This vehicle, seemingly innocuous at first glance, would soon become the centerpiece of a nationwide manhunt. The car became a focal point of the investigation. Detectives pored over the footage, analyzing every frame for any hint of who might be behind the wheel. The grainy images offered little clarity, but the determination of the officers was unwavering. They knew that this car could hold the key to unraveling the mystery of Birna's disappearance. The make, model, and approximate year of the car were circulated nationwide. Flyers were posted in every town and village, and the media broadcasted the details repeatedly. The entire nation was on high alert, with everyone from city dwellers to remote villagers keeping an eye out for the elusive red Kia Rio. Icelanders, their eyes peeled for any sign of the vehicle, became amateur detectives determined to help bring Birna home. Communities banded together, sharing information and tips, driven by a collective sense of urgency and compassion. The search for the red Kia Rio became a symbol of hope and unity in a time of darkness. The breakthrough came on January 18th. Days had turned into nights, and the relentless ticking of the clock weighed heavily on everyone involved. Each passing hour felt like an eternity, but the persistence of the investigators and the public's vigilance finally paid off. A tip from the public led police to the port of Hafnarfjordur, just south of Reykjavik. The tipster had noticed a red Kia Rio parked suspiciously at the port, and the information was quickly relayed to the authorities. The port, usually a place of bustling activity and commerce, now became the center of a high-stakes investigation. There they found the red Kia Rio. The car, covered in a thin layer of frost, stood out starkly against the cold, dark surroundings. Police officers meticulously examined the vehicle, searching for any clues that could lead them to Birna. The discovery of the car was a pivotal moment, filled with both hope and trepidation. The car was rented, and the trail led to the crew of a Greenlandic trawler, the Polar Nanak, which had left the port the day after Birna's disappearance. The connection to the trawler opened up a new avenue of investigation, raising questions about the crew's involvement and their whereabouts during the critical hours of Birna's last known movements. The discovery of the Kia Rio sent a surge of both hope and dread through the investigation. On one hand, it felt like they were finally getting closer to answers. On the other, the implications of what they might find were deeply unsettling. The officers knew that every piece of evidence could bring them closer to the truth, but it also carried the weight of potential heartbreak. Could this be the break they had been waiting for? The question hung heavily in the air as investigators sifted through the mounting evidence. Each clue was a step forward, but the path was fraught with uncertainty. The stakes were incredibly high, and the pressure to find Birna was immense. Or was it a dead end, leading them further from the truth? The fear of hitting another roadblock loomed large, but the resolve to find Birna and bring her home remained unshaken. The investigation was at a critical juncture, and the next steps would be crucial in determining the outcome of this harrowing case. Section 5. A grim discovery. The search ends, the nightmare begins. The Polar Nanak, with its crew of 25, was ordered to return to Iceland. The trawler, a behemoth of steel and netting, became a crime scene, its every crevice scrutinized. Forensic teams, working tirelessly, searched for any trace of Birna. On January 22nd, their worst fears were confirmed. Birna's body was found on a rocky beach near the lighthouse at Selvogsviti, about 25 miles south of Reykjavik. The discovery sent a wave of grief and anger across Iceland. The hope that had sustained them for 8 long days was extinguished. The autopsy report revealed the brutal truth. Birna had been brutally murdered. Her body bore the marks of a violent struggle. The nation mourned. The illusion of safety, so carefully preserved, lay shattered on the rocks alongside Birna's stolen life.